Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blonde Way Podcast. I'm the only one that's ready.
I'm ready. I'm here.
You didn't have your mic. You had to reach.
I did. I was doing a thing. It was chaos.
Happy Thursday, everyone.
Hello, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Yes, it also is Calvin's birthday, which is why he's not here.
No, it's not. It's not why he's not here. It's a much sadder.
A much sadder reason why he's not
Almost
here.
the exact opposite.
He will be back next week, so he's gone for the rest of the weekend at least. Mm-hmm. But do wish him happy birthdays. It would definitely probably cheer him up.
Indeed.
Happy birthday.
Anyway, we usually start off with the week and stuff. How's everyone doing? And how is chat doing?
My week has been good. Nothing crazy to report other than I had to cancel a Zelda stream.
Yep.
And I was devastated.
Not as devastated as I was during the Final Fantasy stream. I did not have to cancel. Oh, it was an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It's always good to have those, though.
It is. It is.
Right? It means it did something. It was
It did do something.
Impactful, Rick.
It was impactful. I wish it wasn't at the end of a long day, but it was very impactful. I'm sad, but hopeful of the future.
Well, good. I will say that I have plans on Sunday doing a live stream on Pokemality. It's going to be my first live card opening video that I'm going to try doing. So make sure you guys join me for that. I will try to get a time tomorrow and post that on Pokemality as well, but I don't have my time yet on Sunday. I don't usually stream Sundays, so it's different. But it's going to be fun. I'm excited to open some stuff. I actually got my hands on some of the new 151 cards that are from Japan, and I'm curious to see what we get out of that.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Sunday?
I mean, yeah, I'm going to do that on Sunday.
Sweet.
Yes. I may do it later. I kind of want to do it earlier, but the rest of my family's all busy from like 6 to 8. So I may start it later in the day while they're busy and I can spend time through the day with the family. So that may be what we do.
So I gotta subscribe at Pokemality.
Yes.
Make sure I'm ready.
You subscribe there, you'll get the notification. It'll be live on YouTube, Pokemality. That's where it's going to be.
Also, just a general advice. If you don't want to subscribe to everybody, you don't have to. Just start watching some videos, get that in the algorithm. It'll recommend it for you sometimes.
True. Very true.
Yep.
True.
I'm also debating between pushing more into VGC stuff or Pokemon Unite. Because I enjoy both, but I also really like Pokemon Unite because I have a big background from before I started playing Pokemon of playing like League of Legends and stuff like that.
MOBAs.
Pokemon Unite is definitely in that category and a lot of fun for me.
Which one would you say you're closer to the top?
Closer to the top?
Like, I know I'm closer to the top in Mario Kart than I am in Smash.
Okay.
When you take all players, I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to the top.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
sure.
I'm closer.
Yeah. I'm closer to the top in boxing than baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
I would go, if I'm just picking between Unite and like Scarlet Violet VGC, I'll go with Unite mainly because VGC also has a lot of strategy elements that I feel like I need more work on to kind of like build and craft a team. Whereas in like Pokemon Unite, there's not as much, I don't know, variance on an individual Pokemon that you can do. There's only so much that you can change, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based on your reaction times and strategy while playing it there, not necessarily the other half of VGC, which is like building my team. Why are you building it? How are you building it? What's the reason for this Pokemon be on your team? Like, there's a lot of other aspects that I think I'm weaker on. Like, I think in battling, I can like, okay, here's what I have. What do I do in the battle? But it's the other half, the pre-making stuff that I think I'm weaker at.
Gotcha.
So I'll go with Unite.
Unite? Okay. I'm just wondering.
But I'd probably pick Smash over Unite, though.
That you're closer to the top?
I think I have a much firmer knowledge of Smash Bros. Ultimate than I do of even Pokemon Unite. But Pokemon Unite's also a little newer. I think they just hit...
it's also free, so you get a lot of people playing that might not be the most competitive.
Yeah,
or at least in the beginning it did, right?
Yeah. And it's free for mobile, and you can play it on the Switch, which is also free. And yeah, I think it opens up the idea of lots of people being able to play it and stuff too. Same with League of Legends. It used to be like that too. Well, it still is free, I believe. But what are they on? Are they 2 or 4 year anniversary? I want to say 4, but that sounds like too long.
Pokemon Unite, 4 years?
It sounds too long.
That's too long.
I think it's second.
Yeah.
It's either 2 or 4, but I think it's okay. Second anniversary on July 21st. So tomorrow. Tomorrow's their second anniversary.
Nice.
Congrats.
Which I believe they're celebrating by Mewtwo being released into the game.
Ooh. Do you have to unlock him? Is he like Akuma?
I mean, it's the same as most of the other characters. It's just, it's usually either you spend coins for them or you can also unlock them temporarily. But no, not like an unlock secret or anything.
Gotcha.
Though there are 2 of them where you can evolve him into a Mega.
2 Mewtwo's?
And it's the first time that I think they've had Megas in Unite. So you can Mega evolve them into a Mega Mewtwo X or Mega Mewtwo Y. And one is more of a melee Mewtwo, and the other one's more of a ranged Mewtwo.
Gotcha.
So,
am I right? Was there a Mew 3 at one point? Or was that like a fan thing? Like Super Saiyan 5?
I don't ever remember a Mew 3.
I must be wrong.
There may have been some kind of rumor thing about a Mew 3, but I don't remember one.
Mew 3 is a Pokemon which has never appeared in any game or anime episode, though it has had one appearance in overall Pokemon franchise. It is the second clone of Mew. But where? Where's the reference? This is the most unhelpful Wikipedia page I've ever been a part of.
It is technically not a real Pokemon, as it is just a transformed form of Red's Clefairy.
Red's Clefairy?
Don't know. It looks like it maybe's manga stuff.
Oh, okay. So Red's Clefairy was like mocking it and being like, "This makes me Mew 3." It looks like a Mewtwo, but with Clefairy's face.
Clefairy becomes Mew 3 after merging its own DNA with that of Mewtwo's. Clefairy / Mew 3 proceeds to battle and defeat Mewtwo before being reverted to normal, defeating Mewtwo.
I guess so.
Crazy. All right.
Asked and answered. Thank you.
Now we've learned something in Pokemon.
Yep.
But yeah, that's been mine. Thursdays now are my rehearsals. I have another rehearsal. We're doing a full read-through today, so that will be interesting. We'll kind of have a general feel of maybe how long the play is. I don't know. But I'm imagining it's at least 2 hours. So, working on that too.
Cool.
And then we had a social media post that we're not saying anything about today, but there's more information for that coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
If you're not for some reason and you're here, which would be, I don't know, it's weird, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know how you found us, but welcome. I'm glad you found us here on Twitch.
It's happened.
Yeah.
Seen a couple people say it.
So, but yes, more information on that soon. But if you want to check out what that little tease was, you can check it out, I think, on Instagram and Twitter. I think it's on both. I know it's on Twitter for sure. All right. What else has been going on?
Well, let's see. It was in this last week, right? That we had another Hollywood strike.
Actually,
was it
happened, I think, during our previous podcast.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Or shortly after.
So, yeah, a week. It's not quite a week yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we had the actor strike joining the writers, the directors who got their deal and left everybody else behind, but we have that going on. So that was an interesting time for us this week because while we are independent and our own thing, like we are connected to that industry, and yeah.
Sure. No, we are. We talked about it a little bit in the beginning of a video and also posted on social media about some of the things that are happening. I know I've seen some people talking about like actors pushing, just trying to get more money while they have a lot of money, and I think that it's a bit of misinformation because while there surely are actors who make a ton of money, there's also a lot more actors who don't make much money at all.
Yeah.
And it's more of like that 1% type of idea where like there's a top percentage that definitely earn and are the big blockbuster names, but then there's so many other actors that just they don't get much at all.
Yeah.
They have to work multiple jobs to try to run their passion of also acting, and it can be unfair.
Yeah.
So that's why they are
Very unfair.
striking and pushing for that, because they want to just be able to make a living wage, or not be
Taken advantage of.
Yeah, I was gonna say it a different way, but your way is much nicer.
I mean, what was the percentage of actors in the guild that don't make the necessary $23,000 a year so that they don't get health insurance? It's like 80%.
It was over
I
80%.
think it was like 86 or something.
87%. 26. Yeah, that's nuts. That's so many people.
Yeah, so it's a much larger percentage of them that don't earn enough and don't hit the point to even get health care.
For those that are in other countries, yes, our health care is tied to our employment.
Yep.
Indeed.
It's a great system.
But yeah, so there's the writer's strike going on. There is the actors' strike going on.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they can make good progress with what they're after. They've sent out some of their offers, whatever it is that the strikers put out, and they got responses back from a lot of them.
Yeah, terms.
Some of them were most of them weren't very good. A lot of them were just straight up rejected.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're willing to meet at the table and come to some kind of agreement, but only time will tell. I don't remember the last time the actors had a strike. I remember the writer's strike back in like 2008.
The last time the actors struck was...
I know it was like the 70s or 80s when both struck at the same time, but I don't know if that's the last time the actors did.
It was in the 60s when both did it because Ronald Reagan was involved.
Yeah.
1960s was both?
1960s was both.
Okay.
Yeah. And 80s was for actors.
And the 80s were the actors ones, so...
But no, I mean, the comment you made, or like that you've heard about people being like, well, actors are rich, who cares? Like, that's... I don't know who said it best, but like this really is it's a new epoch, right? Like I think it was Sean Austin that I saw talking about it. Like this is such a crazy different type of strike because it's a whole new medium of streaming.
Sure.
And there's been how many years now where it's kind of been like is this gonna work? Is streaming a real thing? And okay, let's see if it works. And now that we can, it's predominantly most people's way of consuming media now,
Yep.
We got to be able to find ways that everybody involved, like, when back in the day when you had a rerun or you put a movie on television, like you got to check for that. And that's because you sold new ad space, but you don't sell new ad space on streaming, mostly.
Not typically.
I mean, there's some, but it's mostly from the subscription service. And not everybody's getting their fair share. And it's, it's got to be done now because this problem is only going to get worse in the future. And I know that's not the main thing, but it's a really big thing that affects everybody, right? I mean, it's one of the reasons that we had all of that craziness with Black Widow.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson was set to receive money related to the box office sales, but because of the pandemic and everything, it didn't hit the box office and went to streaming. So the prices that she saw were not there because it went to streaming. So there's a lot of, I think Emily, Blunt from Jungle Cruise also went through a similar issue with that, which I would say that they're some of the bigger actors, sure, but also like because they didn't get anything because of, well, I mean, they got whatever they had put in the contract, but the streaming aspect really changed it because there's not a lot of rules or
stipulations.
What's the word? Stipulations, sure, for streaming services and how that works as being an actor.
We've completely lost the after the home box office stuff, right? Or the box office. We've lost DVD sales and Blu-rays.
Sure.
Like I know that they're still getting sold, but come on,
they have dropped a lot more than what they used to be. Because that was the only way you had home. You could watch home movies, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like Disney Plus. They're not putting any of their stuff out on DVD or Blu-ray either. So the only way to get
it and rentals as well.
And rentals,
a huge thing. Which now that's all on streaming.
I haven't rented I mean I've rented on like Amazon, I guess.
Well, yeah,
but I haven't gone to like a Redbox or a thing, and I mean that's just gone now, right?
I mean, Redboxes still exist.
Yeah, they do.
There's a few that I know even locally to us where you can go and rent a movie.
I wonder how. I really truly wonder how much that pulls. Around here.
Around here, maybe decent.
Yeah.
Because like there's a lot of places that just can't get streamable internet still.
Yeah. Sure. No, that is 100%
unless
true.
it's like satellite, and then it's super expensive.
And then a lot of this stuff too. We talked about it in the one video, but there's various content creators that you'll see either changing some of their releases, maybe not changing some of their releases, maybe having some stuff missing in general that maybe they would normally post. And a lot of that falls into the idea of what's being promoted, and actors have stopped promoting as per their strike and everything.
Yeah.
But what is happening too is that other people are being grabbed and being used to promote the stuff where the actors would typically be, and they're trying to stop people from doing that. Stop filling in the role that the actors would be doing and what promotions they would be doing.
And that's honestly, that's one of the biggest changes from, because we've had the writer's strike here for the last, 5 weeks or so?
Yeah.
Something like that. But there wasn't a lot of influencers taking the writer's spots, but in a lot of these things, influencers are taking actor spots, and that's called being a scab. It's taking their stuff.
Sure. So hopefully content creators, I don't know, I'm sure not everyone follows this necessarily.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping some content creators don't get stuck in a position that they didn't realize they were getting put into, because I could see it being exciting to be like, oh, hey, they're offering me
absolutely
several $1,000s to go and do this thing. That's so cool. I've never been able to do that. And then they take that offer, and now they're in a predicament where they are no longer eligible if they were wanting to be in SAG or WGA or any of that, to where now they're blacklisted.
Yeah.
So you're also going to see some actors and stuff too pushing through with movies. There are some options that are still available or that have been greenlit by the strikers.
Yeah.
That are allowed. So not necessarily everything has shut down. Not necessarily every movie has shut down, but there's some that are still moving on, but a lot of stuff has been shut down. So there's certain struck companies and organizations that are the main focus on a lot of this. And usually those are connected to like the major streaming services from what I've seen too.
Yeah. A lot of the big studio stuff and like that kind of stuff. Like the independent stuff still moving forward in a lot of cases.
So I've seen some independent stuff too. I was looking at something earlier with like Anne Hathaway was listed. I think there's another movie that's working with Paul Rudd and Ortega from Wednesday. Jenna, I think is her first name.
Jenna Ortega, yeah.
And some of that stuff's still moving forward too, but they're different, or they're working with different studios that aren't related to these and stuff too. So
yeah, they're not working with productions that were struck. So there's some like A24 films that are continuing on, and independent.
Actually,
stuff.
they might be. Some of those might be listed within that, I think too. So
yeah, 39 productions total that are still going on that have, generally that type of thing. You got to make sure SAG will say yes or no, and it said yes to those ones.
Sure. But also from what I've heard too and read, and we spent a long time over the last couple of days, I think, like members of the crew and people behind us too, trying to look into a lot of this information and trying to figure out what course of action for us, how to help, what all that is. I do believe there are donation links, right, Jake?
They should be running in
that you should see pop up in chat sometimes. There are a few that are listed to help the people who are on strike to be able to afford food for the families, housing, whatever bills they can't pay, kind of thing. There's that kind of stuff too, because the strikes could go on for a long time. They might not. So if you do want to support them and what they're doing, make sure you check that kind of stuff out. But yeah, another part of it too is the streaming services too. From what I understood, a lot of it is they want people to still use the streaming service. They want there to be a demand for the streaming services, because that's what they're fighting for, is that there is this demand and they're getting money from these aspects of media.
Yeah.
But the actors and the people working behind the scenes are not getting that trickle of income that should be coming from all these people watching these shows.
Yeah, and it's not a volatile startup like thing. It's now the standard, pretty much, for a lot of media.
So I have heard some thoughts on not doing any kind of like stopping of watching anything yet until necessarily they call for it. They've put a lot of effort into this, and I'm sure that they know what they're doing, what they're after, what benefits them a lot more than some of us do.
Yeah.
But in trying to stop watching stuff, I've heard that it could hurt if it happens too early, especially to where now companies can be like, look, this could just stop on a whim. On one day, it's just gone. It's not viable for us to pay this because it could just disappear all of a sudden, and that can also hurt what they're trying to get and what they're after. So until they have announced any kind of boycott, my thoughts are to wait and see what they do and what they want. And the main thing is to not work on promotional material. But also you can have reviews, you can have critics covering movies, TV shows, all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
As long as it's not meant for an actual promotion specifically.
Yeah, the big thing is, like, don't replace actors or writers in this. So, like, something that they could do or would normally be doing, don't fill in that place and do that thing.
Yeah.
So, at some point, once they, I think, see what is going on, the companies and whatnot, I'm hoping that they come to terms and decide to sit down and negotiate some actual terms. But we're just kind of in the waiting game, I feel like, now for the most part.
And, like, I want them to get living wages and health insurance and all that, but I'm most curious where we land on the AI stuff.
The AI stuff is super interesting.
Yeah. Just to see, like, where that goes. Because,
I'm personally, I'm fascinated by the possibilities of AI, but not at the expense of people's livelihoods,
Yeah.
in true artistry.
I feel like the best case scenario is that you want AI to handle the stuff that people don't want to do, so that people can focus on the passions, the art, the creativity, the advancements in science, or whatever the case is, like the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's just that what that is changes depending, like if you're a rotoscoper, you get really worried when they're like, oh, we made a rotoscoper that's an AI and it can cut everything out that we need in 10 minutes. How long will it take you? 10 hours. Because I cannot go that fast.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some, jobs that's just advancement of technology. But then you have other stuff where it's like, well, that's just stealing from actual creatives.
Like, we don't have a lot of map painters anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we have digital effects artists.
We have the digital effects artists. And it's a lot of them are just cross-trained.
Yeah.
Like, I always love when you watch the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes and they have their one guy that's like, he's their airbrusher. He does airbrushing for all of the prosthetics and hands and feet and all that type of thing. And the visual effects artists were just like, how do you do this? You make it look so real. So he just told them. So he went with another visual effects artist who designed a new thing to literally spray paint. They taught him how to spray paint digitally, and now he's one of the greatest visual effects artists in the world, working at a workshop, So, like, there's always going to be that element of, like, hey, there's new technology, and we need to adapt to it. But AI has this thing where it can just steal your essence, you know, depending on what it's trained on. And I think what is trained on is, like, the big question when it comes to, like, the future of that thing.
Because, like, right now, because I know one of the things they're talking about is, like, background actors. But and, like, now CG artists can make background actors themselves.
Yeah.
But, like, is AI a step too far in that direction?
It's a, you know what? It's an interesting question because, like, to use, like, Lord of the Rings again as a good example, they created Massive, which was this program that you could theoretically render tens of thousands of characters at the same time doing independent things.
Yeah.
But in order to have them do the things, you have to capture the things that they're going to do. And then those, characters can make little decisions, like, as you're rendering, like, I'm going to turn left instead of right. I'm going to use a shield bash instead of my sword. But all of those animations were captured by somebody doing them and then programmed into the Massive thing. So, like, and then Massive was using all these other things, but I don't think the original performers were credited with that.
Probably not.
So it's kind of similar to that. And that's something that happened in the year 2000.
Yeah.
And now we're at the point where that crazy fringe technology is literally available to everybody.
Sure. And more so. Like, now you can have those background actors talk without someone ever coming in and recording a line.
Yeah. You can fix performances, right? Like, I don't love it, but I always kind of laugh when George Lucas is editing episode 1 and he likes this part of the frame but doesn't like this part of the frame. So he tells his editor, like, can you just, like, crop that and then put this one here? And the editor goes, no, that looks terrible. He's like, I have an army of visual effects artists. We're going to make it look fine. And the guy's like, this changes editing. This changes it forever. Right?
Sure.
And once George Lucas, who had thousands of artists that he was paying, can be like, I can hit a button and do the same thing now. Like, that changes stuff, you know?
Sure. I guess my thought, too, on it was pushing more towards, speaking of Star Wars, the idea that they had in Mandalorian at one point, where a lot of the manual, hard labor kind of stuff is covered by AIs and, in a way, robots and everything, right? But the people are able to be more creative and do other work and do other jobs and that kind of stuff, too. But I think they also, the way they worked was that everyone was getting something because all the robots were doing the work kind of thing. Yeah. So it's like, well, we don't have these jobs, but we will still pay you guys to take care of the things you want to take care of. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where AI takes us in the future and stuff.
From what I understand, the unions have come up with some pretty fantastic, really creative solutions, but the studios aren't interested.
Really?
Yeah. You know, like I've seen people talking about how artists can create and publish their style, and then if you want your AI to use that style, you have to pay that artist to do that.
You license it.
Yeah, you can license it, and I think that can be really interesting, but
so right
also
now,
really, really iffy too.
So right now, I don't know if we actually came out and said it, but the issue is that AI is being used more and more in movies and TV, and some of those situations are using actors to start it off, and then they're just using that, manipulating it, and then not paying those original actors for everything they get to use them later on with, right? Whatever it is that they can use it for. So since that, and I don't know how often that's happened. I'm not too familiar with it, but there's nothing that they typically have within contracts or anything legally that would mean that they would have to pay people after they had that initial thing. And I think that's what they're looking forward to, is trying to like future-proof this as much as they can, right? So that not even just the actors now, but the actors of tomorrow, you know, the kids that are growing up to become actors following these ones will be able to get a wage that they can live on and not be struggling as much with like, oh, well, I did this little bit of work and here's my $20.
Sure, right?
You know? So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm very...
Well, and there's also the trend of a lot of movies having de-aging and actors that don't appear or aren't alive anymore, you know?
Sure.
And I'm both impressed by what it can do and really wary about how that can be abused, right? Like I think it's awesome to see that magic trick, but I mean, you know, I need to know the person that's being done to gave their permission.
Sure.
And in the next 50 years, that's going to not happen because we're going to have a culture that, because we have social media and anybody can look up anything, like our kind of progress kind of like we like the same actors for longer periods of time now, right? Like it used to be that actors had like 10, 15 years to be on the top, but now they can be on the top for a long time. But once we can start just being like, hey, we'll just keep doing Indiana Jones movies with young Harrison Ford for as long as we want to. We don't need Harrison anymore, you know, like that can happen.
Sure.
That might not be the best.
No. We've talked about it a little bit too, and my thoughts right now, but it depends on what they do in the future, typically lead towards if it's something that feels like it makes sense or is necessary for the story, I have less of an issue with it than so you said Star Wars. There's a movie that brings in Tarkin, and having that character there in that moment I feel like is fairly important, and they have an actual actor play that person, but then they use the face of Peter Cushing.
Yeah. And that was also done, you know, keyframe animation by dozens of visual effects artists.
Yeah.
What, you know, like, yes, it did have motion capture, like on his face and stuff, but that stuff never translates. But you have, you know, the AI stuff for Book of Boba Fett, and it looks even better, and it is not as much work. It is.
Sure.
You still have to prepare. You still have to make sure everything is doing this, but, you know, they had one guy who can work on that.
Yeah.
But I feel like in those moments there, having those characters kind of reprising their role in a way is a little bit more sensical. Versus like when we talked about this a long time ago, where it was the James Dean being brought back to do a movie that was like a new movie.
Yeah.
But they just kind of wanted to have James Dean in the role.
Yeah.
And for that one, it feels weird. Because it's not like he's reprising a role that was him before or anything. Whereas like in the Star Wars examples, I feel like it's like, well, this is this character, you know, a week before the events of this movie.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that match up well, I feel like has some consistency to it. Versus, I mean, you brought up Indiana Jones. I feel like I'd much rather see Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford being digitally put in than having just a brand new movie that has nothing to do with anything Harrison Ford's ever done, but Harrison Ford's also in it.
Yeah.
Like if they made Hollywood Homicide, I think is what it was called today, like that was just a one-off Harrison Ford movie with Josh Hartnett, I think. And if they just made that, you know, today, but they wanted young Harrison Ford, I'm like, well, just put someone else in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the reason for that kind of stuff. But
me either. Like,
but
don't get me wrong. I did really enjoy. Like I keep bringing it up. I really enjoyed the Luke Boba Fett thing. But you know what I enjoy more? Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know.
Sure. I love Donald Glover as Lando.
Donald Glover as Lando. Like. Especially a vocation like acting. Like, there's not one person that is Macbeth.
Sure.
Macbeth has thousands of actors. There's not one Incredible Hulk. There's a bunch of Incredible Hulks that I enjoy. There's not one Phantom of the Opera. There's 5. I only like these 5. You know?
Sure.
But, like, you need that freshness. You need the eras of characters. 'Cause if not, then stuff just remains stagnant, and anything new just looks copied. You know?
Sure. No, I get you. And I think maybe some of that too, like there's a bigger time gap, so I need the Lando or the Han to feel a little younger than the ones in these movies here. But
and I personally
I think also like I love the idea of when they said about having Luke or Mark Hamill, like Sebastian Stan has a decent look to him, and I think could have pulled it off fairly well. But I don't know. And maybe that's something we should have done instead, but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, I think that the experiments are fun and get us to this point, but now there's a strike threatening the entire industry because one is going to be a lot cheaper than the other.
Sure. I will say that if you follow us on Twitter or any of our social medias, we will be posting various information as we find stuff too to kind of help people stay informed of kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
And try to find as much
information.
True information, yeah, because there's a lot of misinformation. There's even us trying to find information too. Sometimes you would hear 3 different answers for the same kind of question.
Yeah.
So just trying to find as much information that we can.
And some of that misinformation is also like good-hearted as well.
Sure.
It's not like they're trying to spin it or put propaganda out there or something. It's just a complicated thing, and there's a lot of moving parts. And
I try to use the word ignorance in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad to be ignorant of something. It just means you have the opportunity to learn a little bit more. But yeah, a lot of those things can be a little ignorant of what's actually happening.
Yeah. Like Rookie said, like I heard the actor from Zordon on Power Rangers only worked 1 day and the footage was reused. I was trying to find the thing.
I can't.
That's from a long time ago, and I bet you he worked 1 day and probably.
Yeah, I would believe that.
And probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'd love to read the article.
Never.
Yes.
Rangers.
But I could see it being, here's this. All right, thank you so much. And we're just going to use that over and over, you know?
Okay. I'm not getting anything on my monitor.
Mine broke too.
For some reason.
It was working before
it was
we went
working,
live.
and then we went live.
Now I got nothing. I have blackness, like my soul.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Let me see if I can find this.
I'm also, separately, fascinated with AI. I really am. I think it's such an interesting, cool thing. I just think that, well, like all interesting, cool things, it can be used terribly. But like AI is our current highest potential, but it can't go more than that. It needs people to get that ceiling to go more, right?
Sure.
Like Chat GPT is awesome, but up until what year? Like 2021 was their last import of info, right? Like it's only awesome because it only has information up to a point in human history and can go no further.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's kind of cool. in a way that like only human potential can push it and make it better. But that might just be my ignorance too. I'm not really sure. It could just be like, no, we're just always better now.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't catch up with us.
Yeah, like, the chess AIs and things. Yeah. Like, it at a certain point, like studies human games and stuff, but like eventually it can just kind of backtrack from end states.
Yeah.
Like the human part doesn't really matter so much anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It can just crunch the numbers.
It can. And while human potential is still the ceiling, it has all of humanity's potential put together in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Which not one person can do.
And like the thing about AI is it needs someone to tell it that it did a good job and that it should grow in that direction.
Yeah, sure.
So like if it's servicing something to humans and humans like say this is a good answer, then humans are still shaping it in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that was one of ChatGPT's like biggest progress things is whenever they started hiring people just to like look at the options and say which one made the most sense, right? Mm-hmm. So you have four. I mean, the Discord server for Midjourney does this. Like you'll put in a prompt, it'll give you 4 images and then give you some like things to be like, which one did you like?
Yeah.
And you can put 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you are literally training. It's I don't even know what you're training.
Well, yeah, yeah. Like for AI, like you need your bot that makes a thing, and then you need a bot that tests the thing.
Yeah.
And that just goes on forever. But like a human needs to make that test, and it can work even better if you have humans replacing that testing bot, and telling exactly what you want, and then it just grows in that direction.
Yeah. But as a there's like a small part of me that's like, as like when I was a teenager and I wanted to like, I'm gonna make a little indie movie and stuff, and I'm like, well, what do I got? It's like, well, I can buy this or I could pirate this. Like here's my options. AI just makes those options so much more attainable, which is kind of like, there's a part of me that's like, as a little kid that doesn't care about the rules, and it's like, oh, that's so exciting. I have so much creative control because of all these new tools, but what's the future going to be like? And will that kid be able to grow up and make that his job?
Yeah. And will there be incentive for artists to make more art for the AI to use?
Yeah.
Or will, like, if you just rely on AI, then you get nothing new.
Yeah. Art just becomes about satisfaction and not about the creation of it. Yeah. Is stream is freezing? Is AI attacking us?
No.
Oh, no.
Should be good.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's the studios coming after us.
Studios are coming after us.
The thing that was being talked about was it stems from David sharing on Twitter, who was kind of talking in response of like what the studio's responses were to the proposal.
Okay.
But he had said that David J. Fielding, who was the face of Zordon, worked on Power Rangers, and he worked one day and they used the same footage for all the episodes. Which, I mean, I believe, because the way that they kind of have those, it's not like he's just in a tube, not moving a whole lot. The lips don't even match with what he says. It's just kind of like Rangers, But
I mean, those poor guys that made those models and animations for Zords coming out and transforming, they did that once too.
I'm sure
they use that every episode.
One all the time.
Sure.
But that was also
I doubt they got paid every episode.
Yeah. So he said that he made less than $1,000 on the show as a whole.
That's crazy.
It was non-union, so no residuals.
Yeah.
He got paid $150 for the day that he filmed, and they made $1 billion the first year.
He didn't get any merchandise.
No.
They made $1 billion and couldn't throw that guy like an extra 1,000.
I got paid $150 pre-tax rate, $75 per hour, non-union standard, 2-hour minimum session time. For the few sessions I did to record several episodes at a time, my last voiceover of Power Rangers was episode 31.
So was he also the voice of Zordon as well?
This is Robert Manahan took over after I left, and I have no idea what he was paid or how much. So he was there for 31 episodes, and they used his face for like all of it.
They used his face for all of them, and they used his voice for the first 31?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's how I'm reading this here. I was paid for the day that I filmed and for each recording session I went to, not by episode. I was credited for up to episode 31, but when I left the show in LA, they removed me from the credits, which I assume is kind of standard or was back then. But they still use his face throughout it. But this is another one of those things where it's like, well, this wasn't union, so he got paid $1,000 for his face to be used as Zordon for years.
Yeah.
Because they used him up until, I don't know, close to Turbo. I don't know if they used him for Turbo or not. I forget. But in space, he wasn't in space until like the very end. So.
Gotcha.
I don't remember. I think there was something with the Rocky movies as well because, like they usually use footage from previous movies in the other Rocky movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I wonder what the rules are for that. Whereas if you're showing like Rocky fighting X actor, I don't want to spoil it because Aaron hasn't seen them.
Aaron,
I saw the first one.
Damn it. Okay, yeah. So let's say that he's fighting Apollo, and like Apollo's not in the third movie, but it shows footage from the first movie in the third movie. Like, does Carl Weathers get any of that pie? I wonder how that works.
I don't know. I know.
General, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But I can see there being like, well, if it's not union, who gives a shit? Haha, you know.
Well, because a lot of the other Rangers left. Like you remember Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Like 3 of the Rangers leave, right?
Yeah.
And then they bring in 3 new people to be that. Yeah. I believe it was because they were either asking for more wages or talking union stuff, and they got rid of them and brought in 3 new people.
Yeah.
So I know there's another part here that talks about Walter Jones saying that the primary cast members of Power Rangers whose likeness was used for merchandising toys, commercials, and comics was also poorly paid and worked 12 to 15-hour days, 6 days a week. In a 2014 interview, the Black Power Ranger Walter Jones said, "We weren't paid a lot at all. I could have worked the window at McDonald's and probably made the same money from the first season. It was disappointing, it was frustrating, and it made a lot of us angry."
And because of that, so many of those actors have to rely on like the convention circuits and stuff, like to use what fame they have to try to support themselves because that money ain't coming from that stuff, and you know that stuff's getting streamed all the time.
Oh yeah, and,
oh my god!
And at the time, it made so much money,
right? I know,
so much money.
And you hear those like things about like the Friends actors, like they all collectively bargained, like a union, and they all said we all want to make the same amount, and then the residuals they got, like they're still living off of them. How many years later? Like $20 million a year.
Yeah,
it's nuts. But we can't do that for like background actors. Like I mean, who's that one background actor? I've mentioned him like in Chuck and in Community before.
Sure.
Like this guy is a background actor in everything. Like he should at least be making $100 a month. $1 for everything he's been in.
Wasn't he in that Super Bowl commercial where like who was it? It was like Kristen Chenoweth kissed him for like website stuff or something. I forget what it was.
But I mean, like he's famous for being a background actor, but I bet you his residual checks are not, especially for streaming stuff, are not worth that title he has.
Yeah. I will say like this is from years ago where there wasn't streaming yet.
Yeah.
But I don't believe, especially with streaming stuff, like they're not pushing. A lot of these companies aren't pushing for that. They're looking at the profits they're making and enjoying that side of it. What we got to get for the shareholders and everything too, and
the shareholders who aren't doing
the article here continued where like after the first season, the cast were offered non-union contracts. Cast members attempted to negotiate, but ultimately, Thoi Trang, who was the Yellow Ranger, Austin St. John, the Red Ranger, and Walter Jones, the Black Ranger, left the show.
Yeah.
Yost and David Yost and Amy Jo Johnson left later, sometime later, but yeah, it's just like they got a lot of fame from that, and like you said, like you can go to conventions and try to do that kind of stuff too, but it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's like with wrestling, which wrestling doesn't have a union, at least WWE. But like back in the day, like in the 80s, maybe even into the 90s, like Vince McMahon would pay so much money for a wrestler to like work a house show, but he would pay like 75% less for a TV show because they were also getting promotion, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It just, I don't know. I guess it's sad to see how long ago that was, but we haven't really come too much further necessarily. You know what I mean?
Well, we've gone backwards.
Well, sure. I mean, if you go with like, well, here's where streaming is now, and it's not It's not like they just tried to fix it right off the bat or anything, right?
Yeah, and people like the streaming services just taking the shows off streaming so they don't have to pay what little they do have to pay for things.
Yeah. The small residuals they do have.
Mm-hmm.
I get what you mean. So, I don't know. I really do hope that they can find some kind of terms.
I agree.
I would love to have not lost the yellow, black, and red Ranger after one season of Power Rangers. You know?
I agree with that, yeah.
So, that's my childhood talking.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and for like as big as that was, they should be set for life, I feel like. Or at least mostly.
They made $1 billion in the first year.
I mean, they sell toys. They sell so much. Mighty Morphin is like what started it, so it stays big.
Yep.
Like, they've had so many others, but I guarantee Mighty Morphin is, that's the big one. That's why they bring those guys back, I feel like, more frequently. Whether it's Adam or they would bring back Jason David Frank or, they'd bring back these people from the original groupings.
Even in comics, they do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the originals.
I see a lot more Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, they bring in some of them to the Morphin Grid of the Shattered Grid and that kind of stuff, some of the other comics and stuff. But a lot of that starts with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and other stuff.
That show is like the prime example of, like, you got to have a good opening. If you have a good opening with a good song, people will keep coming back. I mean, when I was a kid, I was playing on the swings, singing "Go Go Power Rangers."
Oh, yeah.
And then what do I think of when I'm like, I'm gonna get a toy? Power Rangers.
Yeah, true.
Someone asked, how do streaming shows bring in money, though?
Well, the answer is supposed to be, well, you're subscribed to it, so your $12 or $8 a month or whatever is pulled up, and then that is what's used to pay for production and compensation for everybody that's involved.
Yeah. If streaming did not bring in money, there would not be streaming services.
Sure.
Yeah, but what streaming doesn't have that conventional broadcast has is all of these rules with all of these unions and how you can make sure people are being paid fairly. They were like, oh, loophole. So they funneled all this money into streaming, and now here we are.
And even some streaming, too, like, YouTube is streaming, right?
Yeah.
Hulu does it, too. Like, there's ads. Or you can pay that extra fee to not have ads, right? Like,
or
that's the same idea of what Disney or Netflix or any of those have, and they have those fees actually been rising lately too. So there's even more profits that they have coming in, or hopefully it's more money going to the movies and the originals they want to make, but that's not trickling to the actors and writers and other aspects too.
And for streaming, like, they have direct access to the data of who's watching what.
I do.
Kind of thing. And like, I don't know if the actors in the show get access to that sort of thing.
Sure,
like,
they'll know, like, oh, Stranger Things came out this month and we got 100,000 more subscribers this month than we did the last month. So, like, they can see, like, how many more people have subscribed, and then they can see where the views are going.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even on YouTube, you can see, like, look how many likes and views this video has. You can see what videos people may enjoy more than other ones,
But not only do they not share that with the audience, they're not sharing that with the people working for them.
Yeah.
So they have no idea.
And then how many people have a subscription to Netflix, Hulu, Disney, whatever, that, oh, I'm going to do this so I can watch Mandalorian. And then did you cancel it right away, or did you let it stay?
And that's what the subscription model does, is hopefully you get subscribed. I mean, it's a reason why Netflix will throw all this money at first seasons and second seasons, and then just, all right, we're just going to cancel that one because we got the new stuff. And, like, we see this too on YouTube. Like, the first thing you put out, the first episode or the first video in a series can do really well, but as time goes on, I mean, so there's not much like Game of Thrones that kept going up and up and up as it went on, right? A lot of these just go lower, lower, and lower. It's like, well, we're not going to pay all those people for this, so let's just cancel it, start something new, and then all that money that technically you should be paying to these people that worked on the stuff that you've already done and shown, they just funnel that to new projects.
Yeah. I mean, it's, if you wanted to relate it to, like, going to a workout center where you subscribe, right? Like, the whole gym is getting that money, but there's probably certain machines that get worked out on more than other machines, right? So there's probably a process of, like, swapping those things out. So, like, you can track all that kind of stuff and know what's getting used more or less. It's the same with streaming services and TV shows and that kind of stuff too. Like, these movies are watched more, these shows are watched more. What's bringing people in? I guarantee they didn't make 3 seasons of Mandalorian because Disney Plus wasn't doing well with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was bringing in new subscribers. They were seeing lots of view counts on these shows, and they continue it going. So.
And with Mandalorian especially, like merchandise.
Yeah.
As well, right?
Yeah.
You're on mic, right? Okay. Yeah. Jake was just talking about the Mandy Moore situation with This Is Us. They just can't hear you, so I didn't want to go on too long.
So the Mandy Moore thing, I remember seeing this. I think it was yesterday, or the day before.
You also
but
put it in chat.
it really reminds me of like the Dante Basco videos.
Yeah.
Where you see like, here's all this work that I've done for this and this and this, but this one was Mandy Moore more specifically on This Is Us. And This Is Us was one of the bigger shows that NBC, I think it was, had. And the residual she got for just that show still running is just extremely low. Now, it's not necessarily mentioning what she gets from the initial thing, but they're still making money consistently over the course of this being released. And some actors get more if you have a better deal, like I'm sure Seinfeld and Friends did really well for them, right? Where like the main cast gets a decent bit for that being ongoing and being
the
syndicated
era,
and you know, all that kind of stuff. But here now you have streaming and
we went to the dark.
The AI is attacking us
Anything
again.
else happen?
there's some stuff going weird. Yeah, I think everything's okay, right, guys?
All right.
Dude, this is spooky. Look how our colors pop.
But yeah, the the residuals that she gets for that is just crazy. I can look up and see exactly what the pricing was, but I remember being like,
That's
is
nuts.
really
like,
low.
As YouTubers, like I can go and show you analytics for us where it's like, hey, this video that we released a year ago, we got 2 cents today. You know? But if we have a bunch of videos out, that's 2 cents. That adds up a little bit. Not that much, honestly, but but that is an algorithm that pays you for every 1,000 people that might interact with your ads on your video, you know? And that's not including people that are, ad blocking or have YouTube Premium or something like that. But, like, I can understand it happening with YouTube just because it is, like, well, like, it's ad-based serving. But, like, that was a production. Like, that was a whole thing. How does one of your main actors not have more stake in it, I guess? I'm not really sure.
So she had said that for the streaming specifically, streaming payments she got was as little as a penny to 81 cents for the residuals of This Is Us.
Sure.
Streaming specifically on, I would imagine Hulu. I don't know if it says it lower here somewhere, but that's just for it being available there, that's how I watched it. I watched it through streaming. I didn't watch it from NBC with that or anything. So she also talks in this article about, striking's not fun. No one hoped it would come to this. I know everyone involved is hopeful for a resolution soon so folks can get back to work.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is what they want. But it's not. They don't want to have to strike. They just want to earn a decent amount. So
I wonder if some of the residual stuff is like gambling almost, where it's like, well, we'll offer you this much upfront or we'll offer you these residuals. And then it's like, well, maybe it's successful and I make more, or maybe it isn't and I don't.
Sure.
I mean, Alec Guinness in the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's like, this is silly, but I will take the back. I will take this percentage of the back half, just in case. And then the man never had to work again.
Sure. And it's got to be tricky too on a production to try to split that kind of stuff among, like trying to split it among different streaming services and then not just actors, but I imagine like other people who work that too, right? Like there's writers, there's actors, there's directors, there's the cameramen, there's all kinds of people that work on this stuff.
It's got to be incredibly complicated.
Sure.
But ironically, maybe the saving grace to be able to make sure everybody's getting compensated fairly is you got to use AI.
Have AI calculate
You got to have AI calculate it so that it's fair.
Maybe. There is one from Grim Bane that says, not really a question, but I mean, it took a lot of work for businesses to start paying interns. And even to this day, there are some states that don't require interns to be paid. It seems to be a very similar story, which is very true. There's a lot of, back in the day especially, like they'd have tons of interns. I think there's a Will Smith movie, Pursuit of Happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Is him trying to get in and find a job, and he gets a job, but it's an internship and it doesn't pay at all.
Yeah.
And he's struggling. He's trying to do the best he can so he can hopefully get a real position. And it's a sad story, but a lot of people went through that type of thing where it's like they're just being used for their work and what they can do.
Yeah, if you're just doing the work anyway, then yeah, pay them.
And there's a lot of stories about people that aren't paid but are supposed to get college credit, but sometimes those credits don't transfer.
Sure.
Depending on what you're wanting to do.
I can see a little difference if it's school related in some way, where it's like being educational as well.
Yeah.
But when there's like no give back at all, it seems a little shady. I know at one point when we were looking for interns, we were looking at like trying to find, or not intern, we were looking for editors, and we were like, what if we had like intern editors? And I think it was like, well, we'll help them grow and get better. And I think that lasted a month because we felt like this is weird. We didn't give them money.
It's too weird.
I can't not give them money. We got to give them something and say thank you for what you're doing. It's work.
I think
I've done the editing before. And I know how much work goes into this stuff.
That's the thing.
Like,
I think the freedom that not having to edit pretty much 24/7 gave us made us realize like, no, we're not doing that. We got to pay them. So it did not last long at all.
Yeah, it did not.
But some of those editors, I mean, actually, I don't know, most of those editors that started with us are still with us.
Yeah,
right?
There's a lot that we have that are contracted for various projects throughout. Just
5, 6
There's a lot of
years
similar
point.
names that you end up seeing and stuff too. It's rotated out, and we've had different ones kind of coming in and out before. But no, and I appreciate all the work they do because it means now that I don't have to do that editing. Because they were definitely.
Dude, those are some rough times.
Yeah.
Especially like when I had a job, I had Blind Wave, and I edited, and that's it. Sometimes I slept.
I get you.
You slept during the renders.
I literally sometimes would sleep at work. Like if I had like day shift at the pizza shop, I'd be like, all right, from 11 to 1, I'm gonna be real busy. But from 1 to 3, I'm not gonna be very busy. I'd like lay out like the pizza bags and like put like a plastic thing over them to keep them clean, and I would like. Maybe like 20 minutes, and I had the phone right beside me. But every once in a while, someone would come in, the bell would go off at the door, so I'd have to like get up, wake up from a dead sleep, and act as if I was bending over picking something up. So I had a box beside my head. So whenever that happened, I go, and I just be like, "Hello, can I help you?" But obviously, I've just been sleeping.
It's also a miracle you would hear it. You'd have to make sure you were on the right ear, not roll over.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a side for when I want to sleep and a side for when I need to be aware. And it is not a good sleep, the aware one.
I see.
Yep.
I do want to thank chat. A lot of chat is thanking editors. So thank you guys so much. Whether you use a hashtag or put a heart in chat, I appreciate it. Showing appreciation for the editors because they help us do the things we do and more things that we do. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do as much.
No. And like as the time goes on, they get us. Like they understand. Like there's so few times anymore where I have to like really explain my vision for something. They're like, "Oh, okay, I understand," and then just either bring exactly what I wanted or something way better.
I always love when it's like, "Hey, I was thinking about something like this. Can you do this?" I'm like, "Okay," and they send them like, "I love it.
Yeah,
thank you. It's good. Eric, look at this. Isn't this great?"
I know, right?
That kind of thing. So, but yes, I saw people talking too. I agree. I don't think SAG, AFTRA, or WGA are going to back down with this. I think they're going to be pushing through a lot.
They better.
I saw people talking about like, what if they give up on this and they just come back? I don't think they're going to.
I mean, this new era of streaming is going to be like one of the biggest transitions in the industry. Like, period.
I mean, it's like home video, and then probably this.
Yeah, like if they don't fight as hard as they can to get that stuff, like it's going to affect the industry for years and years and years to come in a very negative way.
Yeah. Becky says, not American, I'm from the UK, but the way I'm sorting it in my head is to relate it to the NHS versus Tories thing here.
Okay.
They, Tories, conservatives, keep refusing to give nurses or doctors any kind of decent pay raise, but found it in the budget to give themselves a massive pay raise.
Yep.
I think NHS workers wanted 7 to 10% more, and Tories gave themselves near a 20% pay raise year on year.
Yep.
Greedy
Well,
a-hole.
yeah, American corporations, by their nature, are busted because they have a legal obligation to give their shareholders as much money as they can. So, like, if they don't do that, they can get sued by their own shareholders. So, like, if you can't explain that whatever you're doing at the end of the day makes your shareholders more money,
Yeah.
you can't do it.
Yep.
If you're public.
Yeah. So there needs to be a lot of changes made with that. But no, that's a similar thing. Like, you can look at a lot of these companies, I mean, specifically within SAG and stuff, but you can look at other stuff too. People are talking about UPS and whatnot now, but you can see a lot of companies that have been making just profit on profit on profit, and it's been a growing profit, sometimes like 50% more than the previous year in profits, but none of that goes to anyone lower, any of the employees. It all goes to the higher ups and stuff and shareholders and that kind of stuff. So there definitely could be some bigger overall fixes that we could use, at least here in the US. But
yeah, I mean, this whole system is just another dichotomy, right? Like, there's so many dichotomies for our society. There's the liberals that want to progress and push forward. There's the conservatives that want to be like, hey, hold on, don't go too far. Like, let's make sure we're looking back at this stuff. And I mean, that's the ideal, right?
Yeah.
Current politics right now don't really follow that, but there's that system. There's the the production companies that are advocating for their board to make money, their shareholders to make money, and then there's the unions that are for the crew. Like you're supposed to have this give and take thing, but generally you're supposed to have equal power.
sure.
And that's not the case in the Hollywood industry. Like, these
No.
actors, 80% of them can't even get health insurance.
Sure.
80%.
Well, I mean, there's and if you
Can you
go
imagine
into,
if 80% of America couldn't have health insurance? Like, it's not great right now, don't get me wrong.
No.
But 80 is a lot.
I think going into even other industries too, like, it just there's not an equal
power base.
power there either.
There's no separation of power. Yeah.
Some companies, whether they're union or not union, there was was it Lay's, Frito-Lay, I think, that had something recently too, and I can't remember if it was that or if it was Amazon or what it was, where they're being worked so hard with, like, in the heat, not air.
Yeah.
And, like, someone had a story where, like, someone, like, either fell unconscious or died, and they were told, like, someone else came and moved the body, and they were just told to take their place.
Yeah.
And it just felt so,
Dystopian.
yeah, like, uncaring, for the employees. Like, we got to do this. It's about the money, get this stuff out, and not about, like, oh man, someone's hurt, hang on, pause things or anything, it just, and it feels the opposite of how it should be.
We stopped work after Calvin broke his ankle.
Sure. I mean, I filmed it and laughed at him a little bit too, though, but
But if he was like, guys, don't laugh, we wouldn't have been like, shut up.
no, yeah, sure. So there's definitely, I definitely would have done that if he was, like, hurt. Like, I mean, he was hurt, but he wasn't like,
He was hurt.
And to be fair, I think I was the first one to laugh
what the hell are you doing, Aaron? Help
because
me.
I knew immediately what happened. And I knew
Oh, man. Oh.
that he was going to be okay eventually.
Calvin cannot watch that. Like, we have it on film, but every time it's even close, like, he goes,
I can watch my knee one with no problem.
yeah,
It's, it's like Tom Cruise in that Mission Impossible.
that one's tough.
Like,
But I wonder, is it easier or harder to watch it happen to yourself?
yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
you say it's no problem.
Yeah.
Like
it
is it harder? Is it harder to watch if you know exactly how it felt, or is it harder to watch because you don't know how it felt and your imagination is nuts?
Yeah, because like the Tom Cruise one, I was like, ugh. And like when I watched Calvin's after the fact, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
But for me, it's less than those, I think.
And for me personally, every time I've ever been like grievously or seriously injured, like in the moment, I never think about how it made me feel or like the pain in the moment. It's always like, oh my God, how is this going to affect me?
Yeah.
My normal day to day, right? So like, I never remember how it felt. Just that, like, I broke my foot in 6th grade. I can't remember the pain, but I can remember that no one believed me and I had to crawl to the office.
I can still
Crawl
remember
to
the
the
pain.
office.
Yeah. I can't remember the pain, but I can remember my friend Garrett, we were both going up for a rebound playing basketball. My foot came on its side and his foot came on top. on the other side and just snapped.
I can remember the pain, and I remember being, I don't know what the right word is, but how much worse the pain was when I had COVID with my knee, more so than when it actually happened originally.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That was 1,000 times worse.
I can clearly remember the pain of the stick in my eye.
Oh.
And not even like when it happened, but the days after, where you're just trying to sleep and you just like, it hurts to just have your eyes closed. It's like, well, what's the alternative? I'll always remember that.
Yeah, of like all of the injuries any of us have ever acquired, I think that's the one I want the least.
I remember like the day it happened, we went to the hospital, they dyed my eye and put the solution in and like painkillers, and I was driving, I'm like, I'm fine, like, oh, this is not bad at all. I saw Aaron at the gas station.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think you told me.
I think I said like, yeah, I stabbed something, stick in my eye, but I'm all good now. And you're like, all right, cool.
Oh yeah, that's
then
right.
The next day I came and I'm like, I am not cool. It is not good. This is terrible.
Well, because I remember seeing you and not feeling like, oh man, that's not good. That's terrible, I remember just kind of being like, oh well, all right, well, see you later, Eric. See you tomorrow, or whatever.
Right.
And
turns out that because I've had a survey done on my house, that technically the spot where I injured myself mowing my yard was not my yard. It was like 2 feet over the property line.
Oh no!
Because my neighbor's kind of older, we never really talked and stuff, and like there was kind of like this natural tree barrier that I thought, oh, that's up until this tree line is my yard.
Sure.
But technically he owns this strip, and I've just been mowing it since 2014.
So you could have sued him.
I could have. I never would, but I could have.
Mr. Stealthy Ninja asks a question more directly towards us on this.
Okay.
If the strikes would last longer and affect live shows that you react to, would you just put them on hold and have shorter shows put in their place?
Like if there was a consumer boycott?
No. So if Mandalorian, like the next season, doesn't get made because of the strike.
Oh, okay.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there are gaps in the schedule.
Well, it says, would you put them on hold? So I feel like they're coming out. But, I mean...
See, I read his question differently, I guess.
If what he means is like there's a consumer boycott and Mandalorian comes out, then no, we would not react to it. When the boycott was over, we might go back and react to it later, but not during the strike and not until the workers get what they need.
And if your question is how I understand it, if there's a gap, we would probably find something else to fill it.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop one of our shows from going through. I imagine it would be in between seasons. Mm-hmm. So, for example, like The Mandalorian, if it was going to have another season, that's going to be a way off. But if there's a boycott, that would probably interrupt a lot of what we do. But we've been talking about different things and different ideas to maybe have some other content and stuff too. And there's also some stuff too that's not necessarily under struck companies either.
Yeah.
I forget what I was reading or looking at, but we've definitely talked about like different things within anime isn't necessarily covered within this. There's I believe stuff within like BBC isn't covered within this.
Yeah. If it happens, I say let's go on like a Bollywood.
Bollywood. There's a lot of wrestling we could react to.
Yeah.
So
K-dramas.
There could be some different other reactions that we could do instead, but there's also things that we could do like maybe old original content stuff that we haven't done for a long time.
Yep.
There's always gaming stuff that would be allowed and okay with. So there's other things that we could do, but you may see a shift in content depending on what happens with some of this. So perhaps cooking. We could perhaps do
some cooking.
Cooking with Blind Wave.
And now, Blind Wave proudly presents
Cooking.
And most of my favorite movies are non-union movies.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of those we can react to.
George Lucas changed the course of history when they were like, hey, you have to put all of the credits before your movie. He's like, no, I want it to start with, and there's a crawl. And they're like, you can't. He's like, I can. I have money. But you know what? Not everybody can do that.
No.
Are there people in chat that don't know about Cooking with Blind Wave? Is that why there's all these question marks? Someone's like, cooking shows? Cooking with Blind Wave?
Or maybe they're like, can you do Cooking with Blind Wave?
Yeah, maybe is that what it's asking? Cooking with Blind Wave? Are you doing that? Okay, that might be. So yeah, there's different options that maybe could come that we would be just shifting basically our content with. So it'll be fun.
Yep. I mean, thanks to all of our supporters throughout the years, especially people that supported us with their dollars. Like, we have the freedom to make those decisions and be creative and have fun. Hopefully people will come and watch. But yeah, there's no way that we're going to put our needs above the people that are striking for their lives right now.
Becky says, what about watching older shows that have already finished, or would that come under the boycott for you guys depending on the studios?
It would probably fall under the boycott. It would depend on how they phrased it, I guess.
Right now, struck content, like, it includes like now and previous promotions. So like Robert Downey Jr. wouldn't go promoting Iron Man, even though it's been out for a long time, you know, or talking about it or something like that. So yeah, it would include past and present and past stuff.
If they did
from those companies,
depending on how they did the boycott itself, that would vary a lot on it too. So if they are saying we're boycotting, I assume streaming services would be the big thing. Basically anything within those streaming services, you would just not cover, not watch, and more than likely you would pull your subscription from it, so that they're not getting any of the money. Not just not watching, but just I'm no longer going to pay for this. So, but
and I'm obsessed with stories, no matter their medium. So we'll just consume stories in different ways. So it'll be fun.
Anime isn't necessarily any kind of issue with that. It's, it comes from Japan.
They have their own issues, but it's not this issue.
Yeah. Dubbing and stuff, I think, is under a different category.
Correct.
Than what the SAG and WGA and stuff are working towards.
Yeah.
So no, that would not be covered. And a lot of independent stuff is still okay because they're not with the main studios that are causing the problems necessarily. There may be problems within those as well, but they aren't the big ones, I don't believe. So it would just depend individually. There may be some independent studios that are struck as well, but I'm sure there would be a list of things. Yeah, Rage. Adam Conover, I have him on TikTok, and he's been with it since the writer's strike had started, and he's covered a lot of information about the strike and everything too.
And a lot of like BBC shows would be okay, stuff like that as well.
And a lot of stuff I've seen too of his, Rage, has said the same kind of thing. Like, doing a boycott isn't going to help support the strikers. He's talked more about like the donations and stuff.
Yeah, definitely not this early in the process.
Yeah, towards their kind of things.
It needs to. That would happen when like they got to the point where there isn't new stuff coming out because the strike has lasted that long.
Sure, and more than likely that will be a big issue to these companies where it's like, look, we have this demand from people on streaming, but we don't have new stuff to give them. There's nothing that we're offering that is new and pulling people in to subscribe or anything. So most likely they will get they'll get that funnel, right? Like, it'd just be less and less content until they have none. It'd be kind of like what happened with the pandemic, where once the pandemic started, it wasn't like there was necessarily a huge shortage of things right away, but the longer things went on, because things weren't being made then, you really felt it towards the end and coming out of, because there hadn't been that production that we'd had on a lot of stuff. So,
and then there was just such a rush for streaming, such a rush for new content after the pandemic that in the last 2 years, I mean, here at Blindweed, and I'm sure all the other reaction channels out there feel the same thing, there's just too much.
Yeah.
There's too much stuff.
Too much.
And, like, we both have to, in terms of, like, our business model and then just our mental health. Like, I want to do stuff I want to do. I also want to do stuff that people would watch, And that doesn't always work out. But whenever there's just so much, there's all these question marks around every decision. Like, do we do this? Do we do this? Do we do this? Where do we invest our time? And that's just really tough. So this is kind of like, this strike happening is kind of like putting a hold on that problem for us in a way, right?
Sure. Anime and bad movies.
No.
My bread and butter.
Yeah. Like a bad movie. Like a bad movie night. Not all the time. But this night.
Once a week.
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah.
That's what we were doing for a while. Haven't done one in a bit. Need to do it more.
Okay. Someone else also had a question talking, not really a question necessarily, but this one does point towards DB Woodside. Does anyone know that name?
I do not.
What is it? DB what?
DB Woodside.
DB Woodside.
It was like the guy that took all that money and jumped out of a plane?
DB Cooper.
That's DB Cooper. No.
Amenadiel and Lucifer.
Yeah. And Lucifer.
Yeah.
Amenadiel and Lucifer.
I was going to... Now it just sounds like
Thank
you
you,
guys
Rick.
figured it out. But
I actually did see it in chat before.
did you?
and,
Okay.
yeah.
But 92 Chris said, not really a question, but I found it really interesting what DB Woodside, Amenadiel and Lucifer, posted a couple days ago on his Twitter about why residuals matter.
Yeah.
And they shared a link about it here.
Okay.
If I can open it here. Where he said, the overwhelming majority of TV shows are not filmed in LA, where most live. So what does that mean? Well, if you're a series regular on a TV show, you get flown to another city, another country, Canada usually, where you're expected to live for the duration of filming. They give you a relocation fee to get you started. Usually falls between $4,000 to $8,000.
Yeah.
And that's it. For the life of that series, not every season, once, I repeat, once. So like you only get that
Sure.
Yeah.
right off the bat. You don't get it again for seasons or anything. So if you're on a show for 5, 6, or 7 seasons, you're expected to pay your rents and mortgage and car leases back in LA, where you most likely live. You are also expected to pay for your rent and rental cars in the city that you are that you have moved to for the duration of that series. So 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons, depending on the success of your show. Most of us pay month to month, or we find a lease that we have to break when the job is over. Or we find another actor friend who will take over the lease. I've done this with my homie Megan Tandy. Add airline tickets to fly back and forth to see your partners or your children, and we have to pay for that too. This happens every single season on TV shows throughout the USA that film outside of LA. I don't know many folks that can easily afford a mortgage, an apartment rental, 2 cars, one a lease, the other a rental car, and airline tickets to see their families, and not eventually feel the pain financially.
Yeah.
And that is why when most jobs finish, actors are racing to find the next job because the clock is always ticking financially. Residuals matter. This idea that all actors are millionaires is BS. I mean, he says it really, but in all caps. The top 1% of actors are doing very well. The majority of actors are not. Lastly, I wasn't always that way. It was changed for cost-cutting purposes. But guess who saves millions by shooting in other cities and countries?
Sure. Get those tax breaks.
You get the tax breaks, but also I believe there's a thing too where like, depending on the audition process, where you lived when you got that job, like if you don't live in these certain spots, you get different rates. But shouldn't that not matter if you're also traveling to a place to get it? But no, it doesn't matter. There's just a lot of weird, I don't know, like back page stuff that really screws you over. And, you know, like you said, that wasn't always the case, you know, like when they filmed Lost, they brought all those people out to Hawaii, gave them homes, you know, gave them places to stay. When they brought all the actors over to New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, they got places to stay, homes, because you were paying for their time. And for some of those TV shows, yeah, it could be 5, 6, 7 years of your life.
Well, sure.
You know? And if that's going to happen, then yeah, you want to make sure you have a home where you're working, right? So they'll help you out, but that doesn't happen for everybody. No,
Sure.
Not enough. You don't have enough money to do it.
It makes more sense, especially a lot of stuff being moved to Canada, because they go to Canada for the tax breaks of the company, but that doesn't necessarily go to any of the employees, the actors, or anything.
Yeah.
But then when you're watching, like, I think of like the CW, they do a lot of stuff, like Legends of Tomorrow, had a lot of actors and cast kind of rotating out. Some of that could easily be because, hey, I can't afford to be here in Canada, or I'm missing my family too much, you know, like a lot of that stuff really dwells on those kind of things. Supernatural went on for like 15 seasons, you know, imagine having to pay for 2 different houses, you know, for 15 years plus, you know, give or take. Like that's crazy. I can't imagine that, you know?
Imagine if you're on a soap opera.
Oh, soap operas are different too, right? Because I think that you can still work on soap operas right now.
I think you can actually.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't know. Because they're cable? Gotcha. Christopher Sean came from soap operas, right?
He's been on them. I don't know if that's where he came from.
Christopher Sean was in Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I used to watch Days of Our Lives with my mom all the time.
Okay, the only reason I know this is because I remember looking at his IMDb, and it was like a long time to like 2022, 2021. And I'm like, he must still kind of show up every once in a while or something, because I feel like he does a lot of stuff, but I don't feel like he's a regular on it.
No, I don't think so. Because Evie, we got to talking about soap operas somehow, and Evie had no idea what that was and asked what it was. And so, as an example, I found all of Christopher Sean's clips.
Yeah.
That's why I showed her.
My mom
all
always
the ones
said,
I could find.
My mom always said, it's a play that has a new show every day.
Yeah, sure. And dude, Sweeps Week gets crazy sometimes on those. Mm-hmm. I remember watching some of those because my mom would watch them all the time, and they would go from just normal stuff to like all of a sudden the mob's in here killing people, or all of a sudden this lady's possessed by a demon, and I'm like, I didn't know this was like supernatural.
Yeah,
my mom's like, it never was before, you know. But then you get
they were in
evil,
Salem.
You get the evil twin brother showing up and stuff. This one has vampires in it.
This one has a cursed gym.
Yeah.
Like I never saw them growing up, and then my grandfather retired.
Yeah.
And he got addicted.
That's great.
And so they were just always on at that house.
Yeah, I think General Hospital my mom used to watch. She used to watch Days of Our Lives, and when we moved, we couldn't get it anymore. So she watched like General Hospital, and there's another one. I can't think of what it was.
The Way the World Turns.
I wonder what the turnover's like in those writers' rooms. Like, do you stick there for a while, or is it kind of like, like the CW?
It's like
it has a certain reputation, but it also was kind of a springboard, right?
Yeah,
for new writers to cut their teeth and move on. I wonder if soap operas have that type of turnover or not.
All My Children sounds right. There was also one that all I can remember, I can't remember what it was called. I think it had vampires in it at some point. But at one point, I don't know if they changed the intro constantly or if they always went with Tainted Love. But that always made me think of that because it just had the intro of Tainted Love. Ooh, like
Tainted Love.
That's what it was. Okay. And I was like, why'd they pick that? But I don't know what it was.
Like sands through the hourglass. These are the days of our lives.
Yeah.
See, another good anime intro right
there.
Yep. That's an anime intro?
Yeah. I'm sure there's a Days of Our Lives anime intro. Someone edited together.
Port Charles, that sounds right.
Port Charles.
There's been a lot of them.
That sounds right. There's a P. There's definitely a P in it. I remember a P. I don't think it was Passions. That doesn't sound that familiar. And it wasn't Dallas. Becky also asked if you have seen Hellboy's live video, which Ron Perlman.
Yes. Oh, I've seen Ron Perlman.
I've seen his as well.
I thought, oh damn, he did one as Hellboy. Damn.
No, you're not on the cosplay right now, right?
Yeah. No. Though. No. In fact, I just saw a post from him going to like a Make-A-Wish thing, like dressed up 4 hours in prosthetics to talk with the kid that. I think the kid, like, Hellboy's his hero, and he wants to be Hellboy. So Ron Perlman will literally go and become Hellboy and hang out with those kids. It's awesome. Great. But no, I don't think so that they're covered under that. I don't know. Maybe movie no, but comic look, yeah, I don't know.
Sure, yeah, with comic book characters.
But yeah, no, he was the one that was like, because, we don't know what person said this, but like, oh yeah, we're just going to starve them out until they start losing their homes. Ron Perlman's like, till they start losing their homes. Oh, well, there's a lot of ways to lose your homes. I might burn it down. Like, I've seen Sons of Anarchy. I know that, Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
But then I also saw a thing today of someone being like, look at Ron Perlman. His net worth is $8 million. Why should we try to give him more money? It's like, I'm sorry, you idiot. That's not the point. Well, these people are fighting for their peers that don't have that privilege.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they all started somewhere.
Yeah, everybody started somewhere.
All right. I'm out of questions now relating to SAG.
And,
gotcha. WGA and all that. Yeah. So if there's more, we can pick more up. Until then, we can also cover some of the other questions that are in.
Do it.
So if you guys have any other questions or anything too, we can submit those. But I will say one more time too, there's should have been popping up in our chat, but there's a few places, and if you follow Adam Conover or look up SAG, like there's various things that you can put money towards if you want to help support the strikers that are trying to find a living wage through the work that they do and the content that we enjoy, and how many hours have we watched so much of, so much. I've watched tons of TV, tons of movies. I've grown up enjoying so many different characters and actors and stuff through my time. So,
and also I want to say too, like actors are very visible. Like we see them on social media and we go, oh, I know that guy. I've seen his face. He's been in my home, because he's on my TV. But the writers it can be a very invisible job, and like we need to show them just as much support as well, right? Like as much as we support the Actors Guild, the Writers Guild has been doing it for an extra 5 weeks.
Sure.
So
like when you talk about like good story, that starts from the writing, like that's, I mean, maybe starts is not quite the right word, but I mean that stems from the writing, you know what I mean?
It's pre-production.
Yeah, like you need good writers to get, and there's some.
I mean, and it's the reason why you have the writers strike first, and then you go into directors, and then you go into actors, right?
Yeah. So like having good writing, there's certain shows where I'm like, this is great. There's other shows I've watched where I'm like, this could have been better. I didn't enjoy the way the story went as much this way.
Yeah.
But some of those great times, like if you pay a writer what they're worth, you might get a much better story.
Sure.
Rather than like, I just got to hurry up and get this done because I need to get to my next job because I don't have enough money to pay my bills,
Yeah. And it's real tough too, because I feel like writing is even more so, like the quality of it can be subjective compared to acting sometimes, right? Like a great actor is sometimes undeniable, but you can just not like a direction a story goes in sometimes. Like, oh, I thought it was okay.
Sure.
There's also often multiple writers attached to
absolutely.
projects as well, right?
But like I feel like sometimes the way that we talk about actors and their contributions, writing, it's either it's good or it's bad. And bad can also mean I didn't like the direction.
It can also be serviceable.
It can be serviceable, but I don't often see that. Like it was serviceable.
Yeah, like we were actually doing a movie recently. It's like the writing is serviceable.
Yeah, sure.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
But sometimes I like to be challenged, and sometimes I truly do like to be challenged with bad writing.
Sure.
I really do.
All right. James TKD says, Eric,
Yes.
you mentioned AI art a few times before.
Yeah.
Have you or the others ever made anything using it before?
I mean, I've played around with AI art before, but never like for Blind Wave or anything. Just like my own curiosity on how the actual thing works, right?
Sure.
But I would never use it in lieu of paying an artist. Like we do designs for merch sometimes, and we have thumbnails and gags, and like that's all done by a human artist.
Sure.
Like, I'm open to like pursuing different avenues of like how that type of thing can push the business forward in a proactive way, but not at the expense of everything you could lose.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, again, I'm super fascinated by it, but I had a mid-journey like rabbit hole that I went down, being like, oh, how does this work? What prompts work better? What are the keywords? And I'm already kind of fascinated with prompts and keywords anyway, because I do a lot of tags on YouTube and stuff like that. So I always like researching, certain tags that you wouldn't know actually help with finding a new audience and stuff.
Sure.
So that's kind of crossed over a little bit with trying to do prompts for AI art, but I never so many people. I've seen so many people like, yeah, I drew this. It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
I
haven't used it, but like I'm such a terrible artist. If I need to explain something to an artist, I can't do it.
True, I understand that. Yeah.
But if I could have like an AI artist make something for me that I could then give to that artist and be like, I want something like this.
No, I understand. Like I said, I mean, I think there are uses that are valid. It's just right now, it's become like a dirty word.
Sure. Well, this is a good time, I think, to talk a little bit about Secret Invasion's intro.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people had some issues with that, and while I can understand the idea of AI versus people, like I think what they were going for is they had a person who's like, hey, can you go and I don't know what the department did exactly, but I want something that feels like art made by a human, but not feel like art made by a human.
It's an imitation.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the Skrulls.
And I think it works really well for what they're going for the show. But a lot of people were upset that it was just AI in general.
That was interesting because we watched that 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we said 2 weeks early. I'm like, people were not going to be happy by this. You know? Like, I thought it was an intriguing concept, but that's also, we have to admit our ignorance. Like, we have no idea, like, how many artists worked on that?
Sure.
What were they paid? Was it one guy? Was it 10 guys?
Sure.
You know? And, I mean, that can depend as well, but yeah. I knew it was a sticky situation, even though I personally thought, like, oh, what they used that artistically.
I think they used it well for what the show is, and I enjoy it for that. I understand people being upset with, like, is it taking away someone else's art that they would have used to make it instead?
Yeah.
But
Or
like you said, I don't know what they did necessarily behind that.
or did it use art that already existed? And
that's the main thing. What was the model trained on?
Yeah.
Because you can use AI on 10 images you created, and it will do its thing. It just doesn't have 10 billion images from, the internet.
Sure.
That was taken without permission.
It could be cool if they like took like, okay, we're gonna draw this, and we're gonna draw this, and we're gonna draw this, and then we're gonna give it to AI, and then use what it makes for us. Because now it's taking this human thing and it's trying to imitate what we have drawn, and I think that's a really neat way to do it. But I don't know how they did it. I like it for the show, but yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up while we're talking about AI.
I really like the way, and this is going to be a controversial statement, but I like the way the Corridor crew, made a misstep and then they did their anime rock paper scissors short, and they used AI to create what was essentially a very advanced form of rotoscoping. Like the old Lord of the Rings cartoon that would literally just draw over film.
Sure.
It's not quite that, but it's related to that, where they trained a model on Vampire Hunter D art style, because that's the art style they wanted.
Great art style.
Fantastic. And the project looks fantastic for what it is, which is baby steps into creating animation with AI. But the big controversy was, like, you didn't get permission from the Vampire Hunter D guy. You didn't, and they're monetizing their channel, like that video was monetized. They have a subscription on their website and stuff. So now but in my opinion, even though I think that was a mistake they made, there's a lot of artistry in what they did do, because they combined that with like Unreal Engine to create like the environments, and they had some really cool ideas, and the story's fun. For the second one, they hired an artist to train their model on their style, right? Or multiple artists. I'm not like sure exactly the details, but they're not doing that thing. Now they're using it to create this animation with a whole style all on its own, using AI, hopefully in a little better way. But they might not have gotten to that point if they hadn't made the mistake the first time, And it really felt like a power keg. Like, that happened, and then you could kind of feel like everybody's starting to be like, "This, we had to talk about this," and here we are with the strikes.
Yep. Yizing says, now that Aaron is a bona fide actor in a theater production, if you could replace any performance with Aaron, which would it be?
The main guy in Audition.
I don't know what that means.
Yep, that's the one. No comment otherwise.
I don't think I get a say. Mine would be something cool.
I can't think of a good one. I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's like Baby's Day Out, but it's you, not a baby. That'd be funny.
Okay.
I'd
Just
watch
me
that.
crawling through.
And everybody's treating you like a baby, but you have to act like a baby. Tell me you wouldn't watch it.
I feel like you're doing me dirty here. Though I feel like Rick's doing me dirtier.
Well, yeah. We cast you as Medea.
Why?
That would be nuts.
Can I be like Star-Lord or something?
You could be Star-Lord.
Why not be like that? Be like Captain America, Spider-Man. Make me Spider-Man.
You can be Spider-Man.
Let me be Spider-Man
You
in a
gotta
movie.
cut your teeth first, though. You have to be baby before you can be Spider-Man.
I'll be baby Spider-Man. Heath Farm says, would you rather have less shows but are great or lower budget shows with more of them? Quality versus quantity kind of thing.
Less shows that are great.
I'd probably say so.
Yeah. I mean, great is a standard that...
Well, how do you measure great?
Yeah,
that's tough.
It's tough. But
because, like, I feel like I want the latter, because with the former, you only get stuff that are guaranteed to make money. So you only get sequels, you only get ideas that are not new. Whereas with the other model, like, you're getting new ideas, and then if they catch on, then the later seasons or the sequels or whatever get the money.
Sure.
So.
And I mean, with really talented artists, limitations can really create or really like make your creativity thrive. So sometimes when you are given just a little bit of money to go make a thing, you can have some gems in there. Yeah. But no, I agree. I could kind of go either way with those. Either way, even if it was only a little bit, I still wouldn't have time to watch it all. It's too much to do.
Sure. I mean, from that kind of perspective, it'd be like, man, it'd be nice if there was only like one big show a month or something that, but sometimes it's like just things are popping out so quick and stuff.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, and it's tough for us too, but like one of the things that we do with our YouTube channel is like we try to have a broad amount of content. So you might not be watching all of it, but hopefully you really enjoy some of it. You know?
Okay.
But boy, it'd be nice not to record all the time.
All right. If we get into a boycott, how hard is it going to be to get a Godzilla reaction? Wait. Just that Jake guy. Jake.
I got channel points. I can use them.
How hard is it to get a Godzilla reaction if the boycott happens?
Godzilla is great. We should do a Godzilla at some point.
I'd do Godzilla. That'd be great.
I sped watched the first movie. And I sped watched the... well, I didn't speed watch it. I just watched the American Godzilla. And then I watched the Bryan Cranston Godzilla.
That's the 3 that you've seen?
Well, I watched like that trilogy. Is that what it was?
Oh, the Bryan Cranston? Sure.
Yeah, whatever with Bryan Cranston and all those.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 movies, right? It goes with Kong and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've watched those movies. Okay. But that's about it. And then a little bit that I caught in like group watches or something like that too.
You'll love some of them because it's a mix of 2 of your favorite things, which is James Bond and Power Rangers. So.
James Bond and Power Rangers.
Yep.
Tomorrow, I think they're watching the one of them ones I seen with Matthew Broderick.
Oh.
So that'd be fun. I think it's over in Discord, so check that out.
I've seen all the new stuff.
Good stuff.
Godzilla stuff from Bryan Cranston on.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I've seen the Emmerich movie. I've seen Godzilla Jr. on Cartoon Network.
Okay.
Wait, you ever watched that when you were a kid?
Okay.
Or was it
Godzuki?
Godzuki?
I don't know what it was called.
Yeah,
but
sure.
all I remember
Godzilla
was
animated?
that there was an intro and it had his songs like Godzilla,
Yep.
Godzilla, and Godzuki.
Godzilla, yeah.
And I don't know what it was
Godzuki
called,
would
but I
be
remember
with
that.
the kids, like for most of the adventure, but when you need to fuck shit up,
Yep.
he'd like, and Bro Godzilla come out.
There was also a Matthew Broderick cartoon
Was there?
version as well. Like, it didn't have Matthew Broderick in it, but it was that movie, but a cartoon.
And then when I was a
decent.
kid, I had a VHS tape of a Godzilla movie that also had a robot that could get big. Like
Yeah, that was...
he could fly.
It sounds like that one guy that looks like a
Jet Jaguar.
I was gonna say it looks like a jet.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Dang it!
I
almost got
had
there.
that on VHS. I didn't buy it. It was
Yeah.
in my house, and I watched it all the time. And I haven't seen any other. I mean, the first one I think I know most of it through osmosis, but I don't know if
Sure.
I actually sat down and been like, I'm watching the first Godzilla.
I have not seen all of them, but I've seen most of them, I would say.
Yeah. No, I don't know a lot of Godzilla stuff. I've seen a few like GIFs, like one involves a tree. Like I've seen that.
Peak cinema.
So, but yeah. All right. Barry says a question from KC1382. Is there plans to have Jancy, Maggie, Melanie, Dababa, and Jake in more content? Have loved seeing them more in reactions and streams across the channels.
Maggie and I will get back to Ghost in the Shell once the new website is launched. So that will happen. We need to finish our bad movie tier list.
Yep.
I don't know when that's going to happen. She streams with me twice a week right now for Final Fantasy 16. So check those out.
Some of this stuff isn't necessarily planned per se, and kind of just naturally occurs. I do think you will see more Jancy on the Pokemon channel. She's been joining on there a good bit. So if you're not following over there, you should make sure you subscribe over there. Melanie has also been on the Pokemon channel. And she's been in some other reactions and stuff too. So as we get into more things that she's already been in, I don't know of anything coming in the future that she would be in that's new. Unless there's another haunted something. I love those haunted, scary shows.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, those are great. Fun. You should watch some of those. It's great to watch them with Melanie. Maybe this October she should watch another scary movie.
Oh yeah, we watched Krueger last year.
Yeah. And she did okay with that, I think, right?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
that wasn't that bad. So like, we need to find some scarier stuff.
That was a rare me, Melanie, and Rick panel.
Yeah, that hasn't really happened that much. That was new and different too. So,
and Jake only watches Godzilla, so
That's not true.
so
He doesn't watch anything else.
So it's a very narrow application that would happen.
Yeah,
maybe.
But I would say if you're looking for that type of thing, there might be some stuff coming out. You never know.
I was in King Kong stuff too. All right. And the last question I have here is from Extra115. I think it's right. Solidarity forever. Hope the writers and actors are able to get what they need to keep making great, entertaining art. I do have a question for Eric.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by Tears of the Kingdom through the streams, but I've never played any of the Legend of Zelda games before.
Okay.
Do you think people should play Breath of the Wild or the other games first? Or could they understand and have fun with Tears of the Kingdom if it's their first? I love the work you guys do. Love all the work you guys do.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would say, I mean, I'm a big Zelda fanboy, so I have favorites that aren't some of the more modern additions to the series, and I think that if you played video games back then, you'd be able to pick up some of the classics a lot better. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker. Wind Waker's pretty timeless, honestly. But if you're new and you don't have a whole lot of video game experience, I think Breath of the Wild is a good game to jump into. I wouldn't recommend Tears of the Kingdom without it.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, I played all the Breath of the Wild, and I still feel like I'm a little overwhelmed with all that Tears of the Kingdom offers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yes and no. What I think Tears of the Kingdom does perfectly is it's not constantly telling you, go do other stuff. It's like, what are you doing right now? There's a lot to do, but right now, you're here in this moment, and enjoy it,
Yeah,
I think that...
But I don't know where I'm at. There's so much to do, and I'm behind, and everyone else is beating the game, and I was playing Jedi Survivor.
I will just say, like, I've played a decent amount of open world games, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think that Zelda, like, especially Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, it feels like a beta to this game, Like, that was the first version, and now here's the real version, Tears of the Kingdom. But, I mean, you will have a good time if you just played Tears of the Kingdom. But I think that it is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, which is a pretty rare thing in the Zelda franchise, direct sequels. Usually it's like a whole new character setting. It's a different Link than the one that you've played before. And that's only happened...
Twice?
Well, no, like 3 or 4 times, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But these two games are special in that they are the exact same land that you're visiting. And I think that Tears of the Kingdom is only enhanced by Breath of the Wild because you've formed all these relationships, and Tears of the Kingdom brings those relationships back in very interesting ways. So I would recommend Breath of the Wild, but if you're more of like, hey, I'll play some retro games, Ocarina of Time is one of the greatest games ever made.
I think
I can attest, and it holds up.
I think play Breath of the Wild, and then from there you can also go back and check out some of the other games and stuff too.
Yeah.
Even my son, who he didn't grow up playing Ocarina of Time or any of that, he's gone and played several of the older games.
Yeah.
And he's enjoyed a lot of those, and he's a big Zelda fan.
But I would also say, don't let your dislike of Breath of the Wild stop you from playing the others.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I do not like Breath of the Wild, but I like a lot of the others.
Sure. No,
right.
I mean, Breath of the Wild's direction, I feel like, is the natural direction just because, like, a lot of the older game stuff, like, I definitely see its age. I see, like, what worked and what didn't work. I truly feel Tears of the Kingdom perfected that, because Breath of the Wild, like, its story wasn't really there. Like, the equipment system wasn't perfect. It got more annoying sometimes. I just feel like Tears of the Kingdom fixed everything. So if you have to suffer through Breath of the Wild just to get there, it might be worth it.
Sure.
And if the story was 1 out of 10 in Breath of the Wild, granted, I'm only 75% of the way through. It's a 10 out of 10. Openly wept many times.
All right. And then loosely adjacent, 12Cat asks if we have a rough idea of when Eric would play Jedi Survivor.
You did. You missed it.
Yep.
All right. Well,
No, that's
down
not
to
true.
I don't know. Sometime. We've in the last year or so, we've kind of transitioned from like everybody having a day to do a video game thing in the evening after, working all day too, to like, well, I'm playing a game right now. And then I might take a little bit of a break and Rick's playing a game, Aaron's playing a game, Calvin's playing a game. So I will play it after Legend of Zelda. I might take 1 or 2 weeks off.
Maybe after October.
Maybe after
I
October.
don't know how long you've got left in Tears of the Kingdom. So.
If I wanted to power through it, I feel like I could probably do it in a couple weeks, but I don't want to power through it. You only get to play a Zelda game for the first time once.
That's how I played Survivor.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, hey, finish the story.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm enjoying my game.
Yeah.
Let me enjoy my game. So, all right. That's all the questions we have for now. It's almost time to wrap up. I'll go through bits and donations as well.
All right.
So we have Dale Cog, who resubscribed for 22 months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grimbane42 resubscribed for 3 months. Happy Thursday. Now go watch the new Superman animated show on Max.
I've seen some clips, and I've enjoyed the clips.
Yeah.
I must say.
I've seen nothing.
I haven't seen anything yet. Just did we watch a thing about it? I feel like we watched a trailer.
We watched a trailer, I suppose. Oh no. I was wrong.
We didn't watch anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like
we might
God.
watch a trailer.
Gara,
We also just watched Superman and Lois and finished it, and I needed time. 'Cause it was so good.
See, you've lost me now. I was all on board with Superman,
Really?
and now I'm slowly dwindling. I don't need Superman in my life anymore.
Interesting.
Gara gifted a sub. Thank you so much, Gara.
Thank you, Gara.
Thank you.
Ahsoka Simp has resubscribed for 9 months.
Blind White Baby.
True. Marvelous JJ resubscribed for 30 months. Happy birthday to Calvin and sending hugs to Carmen. Have a great day to the entire crew. Thank you so much, Marvelous JJ.
Thank you.
Zero Powers has resubscribed for 12 months. 1 year, baby. And many more. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Colton MG has resubscribed for 25 months. Have any of you guys seen Krypton?
No.
It won't ever be a reaction series, but I'd highly recommend checking it out on your own if you're ever in need of something new to watch outside the channel.
Huh. Never heard about that one.
Yeah, I've not heard about it either, so I'll have to look into that one.
Certainly haven't had an editor asking for that for years.
Now you're taking it too
Poor
far.
Ultra.
Tetsuo has resubscribed for 49 months.
Thank you.
Tetsuo.
It's a lot of months.
Taylor's Dank subscribed 4 months. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Odeth G67 has gifted 5 subs.
Yeah.
Veronica also gifted 5 subs. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Congrats to everyone who got a gifted sub from them and Gara. The 4th Kira has gifted a sub as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Malik also gifted a sub. Thank you so much, Malik.
Thank you.
Shmee has resubscribed for 10 months with a happy face. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You make our faces happy.
And T-Score cheered 100 bits.
Thank you for the bits. I also saw someone gave like dollar money before.
Yeah, I was thinking I saw that somewhere too.
Yeah, there's
but
like a new thing on Twitch.
But I don't see it listed here at all. So
let me check our email. I think it normally ends up there, if I remember correctly. At least it used to, but maybe it doesn't anymore. I don't see it.
I know. I don't know where it went.
Oh, no.
Whoever it was.
Wait, this might be it.
Thank you.
Nope, this is me paying someone else.
It was me. Did it say anything, Grimbane?
It did say something, but I can't remember what it said.
Hopefully I didn't say something stupid. I don't know what you said. But yeah, I don't see it here.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We noticed.
Very much so. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today's podcast, but we'll be back tomorrow with, I believe, Super Smash Brothers. Calvin's gone.
I forgot. Yes.
So there's just us 3.
I have to keep poisoning Calvin so this keeps happening.
We're going to be playing some Smash Brothers. So
You're gonna kill him.
and also
Then we play forever.
I'll make sure to have more information on Sunday's Pokemality stream. I'm excited for that. And then Saturday there will be Roll with the Punches.
Yes.
Roll with the Punches Saturday over at Roll with the Punches on
Working
YouTube.
on the inside.
Yep, on the inside.
And I had to cancel my stream on Tuesday. So Saturday at 12 p.m., Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We're going to go for a while, baby.
All right. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow for Smash. Hope you guys have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.